Welcome to Promote, Profit, Publish. I'm your host, Juliet Clark, and we have a literary agent who created an educational platform today. So I think that's really exciting for every author out there because nobody knows the business better than the literary agent. So pretty excited about that. Before we get started, I want to remind you to go over and grab your free subscription of Breakthrough Author Magazine. And also, don't forget that on November 1st, we are doing our platform planning workshop. You can register for it at platformplanning.com. Be November 1st at 9 a.m. Mountain Time. And it'll be about 90 minutes. And we have materials. When you sign up, you'll get the materials. This is actually a $1,500 course that we do every year, but we're going to do it for free this year because we know that many people out there are struggling. And being able to get out of that struggle means planning for 2025. So I'd love to have all of you guys there, breaking down into small bite-sized pieces, getting your platform done. Because we notice that many times we'll put a strategy together, do a session, we'll put a plan together, and then it never gets executed. And if you put the plan together and then you don't execute it, you will not get results. So today's guest is Johanna Maaghul. And she is going to be bringing us Odom. And Odom has her hands-on experience in project management, corporate strategy, technological integration from education, healthcare, software creation, and the fintech industries. Focused on ensuring that the Odom platform meets customer and user needs in a rapidly changing education market, she works with laser focus to ensure Odom always keeps an eye to the future while also meeting the current day-to-day needs of educational institutions, employers, educators, and students. And what really makes this so exciting is that Johanna, being a literary agent, we are going to have a robust amount of author education on Odom. And I find that really exciting because I know so many places out there do not have education on platform building, which is one of the things that literary agents will tell you when they get a proposal. A lot of times they look at your numbers and they don't look any further. So I think this is a really important step to making sure that authors not only make revenue from their books, but also have revenue from what they do after those books. So stay tuned for Johanna and I. Johanna, welcome. It's great to have you.
Great to be here, Juliet. Thank you.
I am so excited about your new platform for so many reasons. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got here?
Sure. Yeah. So my husband was working. Rich Maaghul, who's the CEO and founder of the platform Odom, was working in overseas education. What that means is he was bringing groups of students and executives primarily from Asia, but from different parts of the world to come to the United States to take advantage of our amazing education system. And he would set up custom programs for them. You know, it could be a week, could be 3 months on particular topics of education. And what he learned was that, you know, in the United States, we're sort of spoiled when it comes to education in the sense that we have so many different versions of it available to us at any time. And in the rest of the world, that's not the case. And so what we saw, and I have been, aside from being a literary agent for the last decade, I'm also a technologist and a software programmer. And so I became very excited in 2016 and 17 when I learned more about blockchain, and I decided to devote myself in my technology career to all things blockchain. So those two things sort of came together in a interesting merger. And my husband and I had built another platform back in 2000, a knowledge management system. So we've done this before. And so we decided to start this company. And at the time, we were working with a group of advisors out of Germany who recommended that we start the company in Switzerland if we were going to have some blockchain component to it, which is the image I have behind me. And the idea was Switzerland at the time, that was 2017, had the best kind of compliance for blockchain of any country, you know, particularly with cryptocurrency, which we have a component on the platform, and I can get into that a little bit. So the original model was to make education more accessible, more verifiable, more transferable and more affordable. And so how do you do that? You do that by taking out a lot of the middlemen and a lot of the layers and making it direct, a kind of decentralized model where a user, be it a student or a professional, can come to the platform and create a profile about themselves and explain what it is they're trying to learn, and using machine learning to help really articulate that so that they can better understand what are the opportunities available to them, both professionally and then educationally, to kind of backfill to get them there. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense. So, with all of your work as a literary agent, you and I have been talking a lot about how can we build a segment of this that would benefit authors. And there were two main things that I really loved. And by the way, you guys, I am putting all my stuff over there. We are working on it as we speak.
That's great.
The first thing is there are all these educational platforms out there where you pay upfront to put your courses on and you pay a yearly fee. Yours is not like that at all. So there are a lot of people using the Teachables, and there's so many now out there, and they're paying, sometimes up to thousands of dollars a year for all the functionality. And yet nobody's taking their classes. So explain your model a little bit, because that was one of the things that really impressed me about that it's free until somebody buys.
Right. So how that works for us is we wanted to make it a true marketplace, and we wanted to give everybody access to those tools to participate in that marketplace. So to your point, anybody can create a portal on Odom, whether it's an educational portal or an employment portal. They can register as an independent educator or as a student. And if you create an educational portal, as you're doing, and as you've seen already from being on and using the platform, you have a very easy to use set of self-service tools that allow you to create any model of education, whether it's in person, you're doing a conference, you want to do a Zoom call for 6 weeks that people show up and participate. It's self-paced. The videos are already ready. Whatever that modality is, we want to accommodate that. And then we want to let you price the education to whatever you feel is the appropriate pricing model. And that's important because we want, like I said, we want to create a real marketplace. We want it to be driven by demand, and and give everyone a kind of equal playing field to start. Because it's true that a lot of the bigger sites, like I personally worked briefly with the folks at Udemy to discuss content with them, and I learned very quickly that they will only take the A list of educators. They're only going to take people who have 1 million or 2 million followers, and who can already generate the income. And they're going to also take a very large percentage of that offering. So I think Udemy starts at like 50%, and they can go up to 75% of what they take. And Odom does take a fee. We take a 25% fee of whatever you offer. Mm-hmm. So, and we think that's a fair number, and that could change over time. That could go down, I would say, if anything, because as we build more volume and add more self-service tools, we will have less involvement with those folks, and we'll empower them more to market and sell the programs.
Okay. The second thing that really motivated me, because I won't even get into why, is that there are licensing opportunities there for your courses. You can choose to license them, which you have been great in facilitating something between me and another publishing company to carry my author platform building tools. Talk a little bit about that, because I don't see that on any other platform.
Yeah. So we call it perpetual curriculum royalty. And what it means is that, like a book, you license your course to another educational provider. And so when you set up your course on Odom, there's a box that you could check to say, I want to make this available for relicensing. And once you do that, other sites, other portals on the Odom platform can say, oh, wow, that course really fits in well with what I'm offering, I'd like to resell that. And then the person who's created it can also again say, well, I'm going to give up 20 or 25%, or I really want this course to get traction, so I'm going to offer a resale partner, 50% of my revenue. So those are some of the ways that, not only do we create another layer of this marketplace, which helps empower everyone, but it's actually in the blockchain world called a trustless network. And what that means is you can trust that whoever this other entity is that's providing this product that you're relicensing, that the Odin platform will deal with all of the transactional back end of making sure everyone is paid. So if you've done any affiliate marketing, that can be very cumbersome because you just give everyone a link. The end of the month, you have to go look at the links. You have to tally up on a spreadsheet, who do you owe what to and all of that. We take care of all of that for you. So all you need to do is say, okay, I'm giving this person, anybody who wants to resell my program, it's a 50% commission. Anytime that program gets sold on the Odin platform, everyone is paid automatically instantly. So that's the beauty of it, is we've created this model of true reseller partnerships. And we look forward to kind of helping the smaller players network and mesh together to build a bigger fabric that then gives them the power to compete with the big guys. And that's the only way that can happen.
And that is amazing. I used to work for JVIC, so affiliate marketing. And one thing I saw over and over, and especially in an economy like we have now, is you would be my affiliate, but then I would use the money for other things and go, oh, sorry. So that cuts that out, because back when I was doing that, we really identified a lot of the big players weren't really paying what they said they were. So this eliminates all that and keeps everybody honest, which I love.
Well, and just from our perspective from Odom, we don't want to be in the business. I mean, I am not an accountant. I don't pretend to be. I don't want to be. And I don't want to hold anybody else's money. I mean, that's always trouble. So that's the big lesson is, let's all keep it honest, and let's let the blockchain technology do the good things that it promises it can do, instead of just I'll say this. I mean, most people know of crypto through the, crypto exchanges and the opportunities to make money. And they're talking about this coin and that coin. But in reality, there's not a lot going on. I mean, it's mostly market makers and moving those needles through what are called the whales, the people who hold the highest percentage of these tokens, who can make a trade. And it just, unless you're like literally, the reason they use the analogy whale is think of a whale and think of all the tiny fish that swim with the whale. That's exactly what the crypto market looks like. And we are using crypto for the actual utility use case, meaning the crypto is the rails. So anytime a transaction happens, we can use the smart contracts of the blockchain and crypto to program the money. So it's like what Andreessen, if you remember him, one of the original kind of tech investor guys, he put it perfectly. He said that blockchain will do for money what email did for communication. So if you can imagine prior to email, what did it look like? And that's an interesting analogy. And although people think we have that with like Visa, MasterCard, PayPal, and so forth, the difference is that those are controlled by a centralized body. Right. And blockchain is a true peer-to-peer transaction. So anybody can buy something from somebody else, and there doesn't need to be a third party that verifies that transaction. So all we do is write the smart contracts that move the money, but we actually don't approve, or we don't have any involvement in that transaction per se.
That's amazing. And then there's a third pillar of your platform that I haven't seen anywhere else either, which is the possibility, if you meet certain criteria, and those are very key there, if you meet the criteria, to have your course become part continuing education curriculums, which I think is a big, if you can tap into that market, people have to take your courses. So it's a good revenue stream.
That's exactly right. And so we call that prior learning assessment. And it is a kind of a complementary pillar to the perpetual curriculum royalty, where we see education going. And if anything, I think Odom, we're almost we started the company in 2017. So we're 8 years, 7 years in now. And we were just way ahead of ourselves in building this, because now education in the last 4 years obviously has seen drastic changes. And there is a statistic out there that one university or college a week is going under in the United States. So that's a big, I mean, you've got to now be very competitive, and you've got to be offering something really concrete. And more people are like Mike Rowe and what he's talking about. More and more people are going to trade schools now. So, so what happens in academia, people don't realize, is that it's very static. It's very difficult to create new models of education quickly. Our industry right now is moving at a much faster clip than academia. So as they roll out new jobs and like, okay, who's going to fix the Tesla power stations on I-5, at the Harris Ranch? I mean, you start thinking about the infrastructure for new energy, even, which has gone so fast that there's not time for the community colleges to create certificates in those kinds of things, let alone the universities. So what we're proposing is, if you're a subject matter expert and you can create a class, let's get that class in front of the community colleges, and they can tack it on or bolt it on to their continuing ed programs. Mm-hmm. So there's an opportunity there for that to happen.
Yes. And by the way, for those of you driving up the 5 to Harris Ranch, which I used to all the time between LA and San Francisco, stop for the cookies. We used to buy dozens of cookies.
Oh,
the kids love them.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yes. That's a great stopping point.
There you go, from a former Californian.
Yeah.
So you're getting ready, and I'm really excited about this because, as you know, as a literary agent, back in 2021, I talked to a couple of literary agents who said they get proposals all the time. And they look at the numbers, because they have to have profitable numbers, audience numbers, to send them over to pitch it. You are actually creating a course, which I can't wait for, because I don't think people really understand what proposal writing is all about and what makes a really good one. So when are you going to have that ready? And of course, it's going to be on Odom. Any up-to-date information on when that will be ready?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I think we'll have that class ready, hopefully by at least for sign up on October 1st, when we launch the Waterside portal as well. Okay. And this is a great topic, because I'd like to talk a little bit about why this model is really useful for authors in particular. And like any, I think, vertical space, the publishing world has so many facets and components to it. It's one of the few industries, I think you might agree, Juliet, that hasn't changed that much in a way. So one of the challenges I have being a literary agent is I'll get people who come to me with a book, and they'll have been really successful in some other aspect of their life. They're a famous musician or actor or lawyer or something they've done where they've achieved the height of their career. So their natural next step is write a book about it. And I know you deal with a lot of clients who are in that space as well. So for me, it's like they're going from like 60 to 0, and they're very confused about this process of publishing a book, because it's like, well, I did it really successfully and we move fast, and if I just put more pressure on the gas pedal, we should be able to get this done. And it's never that way. So the difference with publishing is it's really about this sort of old school protocol and model, and it involves reading. So reading is going to slow everything down. And so the whole thing with authors, as a literary agent, I'm only paid if a book does well. So I'm like a realtor. I mean, I don't make any money off spending lots of time on the phone helping people, with their stuff. So I am personally invested in educating authors in this process. So whether it be writing a book proposal, understanding a contract. I mean, that'll probably be a class we'll do, building your author platform. In this case, what you and I are discussing, turning a book into a course, which is not just as easy as taking chopping up the chapters and talking about them. There's more to it. So there are a lot of aspects to the publishing industry that that will really lend themselves well to educating authors and empowering them for this process. And I think even the publishers will appreciate it, because sometimes I will get an author who comes to me in their mid negotiation. So they have an offer, they're dealing with the publisher, but they're like, well, I'm confused about this or that. I'm like, well, if you bring me in, I can help you navigate all of that. And the publishers prefer that, because then they have someone knowledgeable, negotiating, so they don't have to there's some downside, because I could negotiate a better deal for the author. But again, the more educated the author is when they step into this process, the more the less they're going to be disappointed and disillusioned with how different this process is from whatever other business model they're familiar with. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense. And I tell people all the time, like, the language you think you're hearing from that publisher, it's like the publishing industry has its own language. And so what you're hearing may not be what they're actually saying. So, I relate this to, like, if you came and asked me to build a bridge, I'm not an engineer. I could probably build a bridge, but I definitely would not recommend that you drive over it, because I don't speak the same language.
Yeah.
Same way with publishing. People are really, really, really disappointed because they heard something, and it doesn't help that there are a lot of publishers out there, self-publishers, hybrid publishers that blow a lot of smoke up your behind too. Like, that's the best book I've ever seen, but it's really not that great. So there's a lot of that going on too. So I feel like this education really cuts to the bone and hopefully forces a lot of these aspiring authors to be real about what's going on. That's why you and I are doing the course, because I don't think hybrid publishers, they rarely, when you publish that way, I rarely think you get your money back out. It's what you do next with it.
Yeah.
That really builds your ROI. So when we have people come in, most of them are not digital marketing compliant, which you need. And at the back end, they don't have a course. So we're looking at probably a complete failure once all said and done. And I don't mean it's bad, because the book is out there, but you're not going to sell thousands of copies, more than likely. So it really is a big deal.
Well, and I want to talk about that point, because it's a really important one. And there are ways to step into a sort of intention of a book. And one of the things I won't say I discourage people from, but I will definitely bring to their attention, is if their model is, I'm going to sell, 100,000 copies of this book so I can fuel the rest of my life. That's not a model that's going to work, number one. And number two, I'll publish this book. If it only sells 1,000 copies, I'll do another book right away. That is also something I don't encourage people to do. A book is a very long game thing, and you want to be in it for the right reasons. You want to be getting to people so that you can really get your message. I deal mostly in nonfiction, where you have a message you want to reach readers, where they have that moment where the serotonin, sparks up in their brain, because they're seeing some perspective, or they're understanding some perspective they've never thought of before. And that experience, if you've read a good book, is so powerful. And just focus on that, and everything around it needs to support that. And that's sort of, where you and I are obviously on the same page. And it's exciting, but if you're not set up correctly to do it, you are going to lose a lot of opportunity. And if you get your ego involved and you're not really following the advice given to you about, you might have a great book, but you need to be a business partner with the publisher to make it work. And are you ready to do that? And are you ready to put everything else in your life, secondary, not, everything, but a lot of things to make this book a success. And that's where people, I think education will help break all that down.
Yeah, I think so too. So if we're interested in exploring Odom more, where do we find you to connect and find out if it's right for people?
Sure. It's odem.io. It doesn't have it on my screen share actually, but it's .io. And the one other thing I just want to add before we go is for authors, there's a second kind of wave here of opportunity, which we've talked a little bit about, but for the class, your class, which is amazing, the idea of helping authors turn their book into a class. Through our publishing arm at Waterside, we're going to give authors the opportunity to create those classes. So in a sense, it'll be two audiences. There'll be a whole bunch of education for authors themselves, but then there will be an opportunity for those authors to create those courses for their readers. So those are both opportunities for authors, both to educate themselves and another opportunity for, selling their book and their messaging too.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing this today. I'm excited to be working with you guys, and I'm hoping we can get most of our authors over there and sharing as well.
All right, great. Thank you so much, Juliet. It's been a pleasure.